Mini episode 1404 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by Sportsology, delivering unconventional columns and webcasts about sports, TV, music, movies, and more. Follow them on the web at sportsology.com.
The FDH Lounge. You'll want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to FDH Lounge Mini Episode 1404. This is FDH Managing Partner Rick Morris here with one of my fellow original FDH Lounge dignitaries, Chris Galloway, who is joining us from on location here, and enjoying a little bit of a holiday here these days, and who could begrudge him that? So very, very pleased to have him joining us from parts unknown here and taking a little time out of the vacay to chat football with us. It's NFL midseason. Who better to do it with than my man, Chris Galloway, as we take a little bit of a look at things we expected, things we didn't expect in the first half of the NFL season. Chris Galloway, welcome back in, buddy. How you doing?
Rick, my pleasure as always, even though I'm speaking to you from points south, the Barbary Coast, the Caribbean, the South Seas, the South Pacific. Who knows where I am? There are palm trees, it's warm, there's white sand. You can guess the rest.
Yes, although I would say at this time of evening, even you might be hard-pressed to narrow it down more than that, but that's another story.
Well, hey, wait. How do you know it's evening where I am?
Well, that's true.
Maybe I have a coffee in my hand right now, so I just got up.
Could be.
To do your amazing podcast.
I appreciate that. Even if you did, I'm sure to have some Irish in it on the vacay, so, certainly appreciate that. And as I told you off air, I want to start this off on a little note of the absurd, as we sometimes do, that you picked the Browns to make the Super Bowl, I picked the Browns to win the Super Bowl, and it has been a topsy-turvy first half, one that, again, restored a little bit of my faith, the way that they came out against the Bengals after completely crapping the bed against the Squealers the previous week. But to sum up the first half of the Browns season, I think this was my subconscious at play. So 2 nights ago, I had a little bit of a dream, and it was me, you, and sometimes we are paired up on this show with my friend Johnny, John Adams. This wasn't him, this was your friend Johnny. So the three of us are...
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was going to say, your friend, our friend, John Adams is a great American.
Yes, and I should say, too, that I know... there's reciprocal friendship across the Johns here, because Johnny certainly thinks of you as a friend, and I think of your friend Johnny as a friend. Always enjoy chatting with him at any of your fine soirees. So anyways, but it's your Johnny. It's the three of us. We're tailgating before a Browns game. I know this must be because of where we're at, but we're tailgating on the berm of the Shoreway. We're downtown. Wow. We're somewhere in the vicinity of Dead Man's Curve for whatever reason. We're sitting there and cars are whipping past us, and it's right by an exit to the right, which, if you look at a map, doesn't really exist. So I think I was kind of mashing up different locales in my head. But anyways, we're out there basically courting a lot of danger as we're tailgating before the game. There's a gas station that's just off the Shoreway that it's not right by an exit, but it's just off the Shoreway there. And somebody takes out one of these gas hoses and takes it and aims it towards us and starts spraying gas at us over the highway. And as I sort of lurch in the dream to get out of the way, that's how I lurch out of bed in the morning, waking myself up, taking myself out of this burgeoning nightmare. So, I mean, scale of 1 to 10, how much does that represent the first half of the Browns season?
Well, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Were we next to a dumpster?
We were
because
not.
That would make sense.
Yes. We weren't, though.
If there was a dumpster and a fire about to happen, it would make sense.
We didn't have that in the dream. It was just, we had lawn chairs on the berm of the Shoreway. And people, I'm sure, are listening to this outside of Cleveland. It's just, picture an urban highway, okay? It's as dangerous as it sounds like. It's as nonsensical as it sounds like. So, yes, I knew you were coming up on the show in a couple of days to do this segment here, so I'm sure it was my subconscious at work. I take some medication for low good cholesterol of all things. But I think it's the same thing they give you for high bad cholesterol, and that crap gives me dreams ever since I started taking it. So there's a combination of factors at work, but I knew this was one I had to save for on air when I had it, because I was like, Chris is just gonna flip his wig.
You can blame the pharmaceutical, easy for me to say, the pharmaceutical companies, but at the end of the day, this is your own psyche going, the Browns are a mess, they're a dumpster fire, danger, get out of the highway. It's what we always come to expect and regret as Browns fans. But anyway, all that aside, yeah. I am not backing down from my prediction of the Browns making the Super Bowl.
I thought about it. I'm not backing down. By the way, as far as factors to put in there as well, since I have my annual physical coming up in a few weeks here, I'm doing, as I sometimes do, a little bit of a keto kind of diet here, very, very low carb. So I've eaten an ungodly...
Hey, by the way,
yeah,
that's like, you can't cheat before your annual physical.
Okay.
And I want to say this to you as another middle-aged male, and for all those middle-aged males listening to this episode, you don't clean up your act 2 weeks before the physical so you can slightly fudge the numbers. The doctors need to know how bad you are.
I know.
So don't change what you're doing. Let them see the reality of it.
Okay.
This isn't a Tinder date going to see your doctor. You're not trying to put on your best side.
Okay.
Show your doctor how bad it is, right?
Well, I mean,
don't do that, because that's how guys end up dead, and everyone goes, boy, he passed his physical with flying colors. Yeah, no shit, because he faked it.
Well,
this isn't fake it till you make it. My God, you're a middle-aged man.
Well, that's a slur.
Acknowledge your flaws and go, hey doc, I haven't been eating vegetables. I don't know that I've been flossing either. Go ahead and tell me what I got to do better.
First of all, that's quite a slur at basically both of us. But I will say,
I'm throwing myself in there too.
Well,
that's like you can't fake your way through a physical.
Well, here's the thing, though. I will say this: if my tests were going to be turned completely upside down, I would agree with you. But all this is going to do is just take a few pounds off there. I'm trying to lose about 7 or 8 pounds. So my point on this was I have had an ungodly amount of pepperoni this week, and that can give me weird dreams. So that might have been a co-contributor as well.
Listen, at the end of the day, it was a weird dream.
Yes.
Who knows why we have weird dreams?
Right.
It's probably Roger Goodell's fault. Let's be honest.
It is. I loathe him.
I've had weird dreams ever since he did the NFL draft in his basement in a Barca lounger. So it happens.
It does.
So You just go ahead and you wake up and you go, I'm not on fire. I'm not covered in gasoline. And the Browns aren't in first place.
Yeah.
Okay, everything's right in the world.
Yeah, well, we hoped that the Browns would be in first place at this point, but still firmly in the playoff hunt. And so, again, I'm with you. I'm not prepared to write off the whole notion of that happening. One of the reasons being somebody is going to be lucky enough to draw as a first-round opponent, even though you got to go on the road to do it. Who gives a crap as far as I'm concerned? The biggest fraud in the league is in the AFC at this point. The 7-2, quote unquote, I'm going to put that record in quotes, Tennessee Titans, who they've had to deviate from their usual game plan of let's just hand it to Derrick Henry 110 times a game and let him do all the work. So he's still going to be out a while longer. They get lucky against the Rams with a couple of fluke turnovers, but again, they're just going to keep padding that record, and some lucky team is going to go in wild card weekend and beat that ass in Nashville. I hope it's the Browns.
Rick, I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
But in this segment, in this portion of the segment,
okay.
I want to talk about your and my failings in our predictions.
Okay.
Because we love to talk about when we're right.
Yes.
And you know me. I love to talk about when I'm right.
Right.
Right. But I have to step back and acknowledge when I'm wrong.
Right.
Got to do it. Otherwise, when you peacock around when you're right, it just doesn't have the same, power, right?
Right.
So let's take a minute, you and I, to talk about our preseason predictions and how we were wrong.
Okay.
All right. You and I both, we both crapped all over the Titans, right? I mean, we did. You way more than me. I'll say that. I mean, you a lot more than me.
Sure.
You are a Vrabel hater.
I am.
I just want our fellow Buckeyes to understand that Rick Morris hates Mike Vrabel. I don't know if he stole his date once, spilled coffee on him. I don't know what happened, but Rick Morris has some personal bitterness towards Mike Vrabel.
Because he talked crap and peacocked after that opener in 2019. Which, by the way, you're making me sound like I'm a Seinfeld character. He's a Vrabel hater, Jerry.
I mean, Rick, I've known you for 30 years. You are a Seinfeld character.
True that, buddy. True that.
Okay. All right. Hello, Rick. All right. So, look, we both felt like the Titans were going to be solid offensively, right?
Yes.
Guess what they haven't been very good at as an offense. I mean, other than Derrick Henry, and he went down, they're not very good. That defense, which you and I both crapped all over, has actually been really good this year.
Played over their heads, though.
Okay. I mean, but you and I are wrong. We both had it flipped. We both said the offense would be pretty good, and the defense would be for shit, and it's been the other way around.
Okay.
So I want to acknowledge, all right, in Tennessee's success, and I agree with you, I think they're a bit of a paper tiger.
Yes.
That you and I were wrong on the script that is the Titans. And there's a number of other places we've been wrong. I mean, the Bills, we both were not believers in their defense.
Right.
Guess what? Their defense is pretty good. It's been good. It's performing.
Generally speaking, there have been some letdowns, but I agree with you on that. And listen, I mean, the Bills at the beginning of the year, I said they're really good. They're going to win their division. I'm not buying them as a Super Bowl contender. The only reason I'm flipping on that, Chris, is that nobody at the top of the AFC, to me, and yeah, the Titans are 7-2, but whatever. Nobody to me is lighting the world on fire. Everybody has had some real instances of stepping on their Johnsons one or two times among all the teams in there. So I think the Bills have just as good of a chance as any of the other top teams. It's not that my estimation of them has raised. It's that my estimation of the top tier of the AFC has come down since the beginning of the season.
Well, here's the thing, what I would say. I still think, even though the Rams and the Buccaneers are the two best, and the Packers with Aaron Rodgers are the three best teams in the NFL. And that's three NFC teams, right?
Right.
Okay. But if you then take the next 12 teams,
right,
it's all AFC.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, I guess, Cowboys maybe. I don't know as long as they're not playing an AFC team.
By the way, they're better than you thought they were. I called that they were going to win that division. You thought I was full of crap. They're better than. Now again, look, that defense very fraudulent. They're fraudulent. They're playing over their heads.
That was, and you remember that show? What did I say? I did not believe in the Cowboys defense. That was the wild card for me, and I believed in the Washington defense. Which, where the hell did they go this year?
Right.
How do you go from being that good to that bad in one offseason?
Right.
With the same personnel.
Yeah.
And you know that the Dolphins are with you, the Cowboys are my 1A.
Right.
And I love the offense, but the defense, I was like, there was nothing there to show me in the offseason that they were suddenly going to be good, other than a new defensive coordinator. It was like, okay, maybe. So I'm thrilled to be wrong about that because, and again, you and I have said this, and others have as well, 1,000 times over, defense wins championships, right? So the Cowboys are winning games right now because of the defense.
Right.
And so the reason I didn't pick them was I looked at that defense and I'm like, I see nothing there to tell me they're going to be any good.
Right.
And so you flip the script, right? I thought the Washington defense would repeat what they did last year. They haven't, and so they're not as good. Dallas has, and so they're in first place. So let's all, again, acknowledging the things that we got wrong. Hey, the Raiders are better than I thought they would be.
They are, yeah.
They are. I mean, and of course, other than my brief moment of, I don't know, second guessing myself, I've hated Gruden since day one.
Yep. He's a Gruden hater, Jerry.
I was not a fan, and now they get rid of him, and suddenly they're a better team. The Chiefs, you and I, neither one of us believed in their defense this year,
right?
And that has proven out.
The offensive flaws have been surprising, although I wonder how much of this is something that maybe we should have seen coming, because I can tell you from a fantasy perspective and in a lot of different ways, Sammy Watkins is largely thought of as a guy who didn't live up to, because he was supposed to be the receiver out of the 2014 class. By the way, we'll get to the guy who really turned out to be subsequently, because we need to crap on him. But Sammy Watkins, his absence there, I can't help but wonder if that doesn't, prove to be a factor in this as well. I've also seen a theory that what Todd Bowles did in the Super Bowl with being able to get enough pressure on with a four-man rush and not blitzing and not giving Mahomes the opportunity to beat the blitz, that you wonder if teams aren't sort of getting a little bit of a book on how to handle them at least a little bit better, which, again, if this is true, is all the more damning about the Browns' performance against them week one, which you pointed out in the preseason was going to come against a pretty much brand new offensive line in Kansas City. And of the two units, you wouldn't have believed their offensive line versus a good part of the Browns' defense was brand new. I'll tell you that, unfortunately.
Well, yes, and I had predicted preseason that the Browns would win that game, and barring a muffed punt, etc., they probably should have.
Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah, I know. I get that, but it's they were there. They had an opportunity to win that game, and they should have won that game. Now, all that said, the thing I didn't mention in our preseason talk about the Chiefs and the Browns, of course, was, what's the record against people beating Andy Reid when he has time to prepare? It's pretty awful.
Yeah, true.
I mean, Andy is a good coach when he has time. So, I mean, look, that game that could have gone either way for Chiefs and Browns. They were fresh. They were coming out of training camp. They had weeks, and they were preparing for each other. And I thought that was two teams that threw everything at it, and they were basically dead balls even, right? They were.
Right.
They were.
Right.
You can't watch that game and go, oh, yeah, this team was better than that team. Yeah, one team had to win, but they were right there. But again, the Chiefs, to your point about Mahomes, I think there is some truth to the whole starting to figure him out. I think you're seeing that right now in this season a little bit with Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2, teams are like, oh, we think we see some tendencies. Oh, we're starting to now mid-season, season 2. We've seen this a couple seasons into Baker as well on the Browns. I think some of Baker's struggles have been because teams are like, oh, I see what you want to do. We're going to take that away. That's all part of the NFL.
Right.
That is par for the course. And if you're going to be great in this league, you have to be able to adapt and overcome.
Right.
And I think that's where we are with a number of individual players and units, is how are they going to adjust and overcome? How are the coaches going to be able to do those things to move them forward? To that point, Steelers fans,
mm-hmm.
This has been fun. By the way, the hard part of the schedule's upcoming.
Right.
You're not finishing in first or second place.
No.
They've won a few games against our Browns. I mean, look, Browns defense did their job, held them to 15 points.
Yep.
Offense screwed the pooch. Should have won that game. That's one you desperately wish you could get back.
Defensively, though, can I just say this, though? It looked like our defensive line was a bunch of Rick Morris and Chris Galloways out there against their pathetic offensive line. They were blowing us off the ball, making holes for Najee Harris. What the hell happened there?
Listen, I watched that game. I struggled with that as well. I was surprised by that because our defensive line has looked pretty good this year.
It is
by
good.
and large.
Yeah, it's really good. That was an outlier at the worst time.
It really was. But at the same time, hey, Rick, how many points did they let up?
Well, yeah, only 15, but here's the thing, though. I mean,
all that aside, you let up 15 points and you're at home in this league, you better win.
Oh, I understand that.
I can't hang it on the defense. Even if they didn't look great, I can't hang it on the defense. Can't do it.
I get that, and I agree with you that the Steelers are frauds. Having said that, there's one example of something where we were wrong, and the rest of the world might look right on this. But I'm going to be stubborn. I'm going to be same division. I'm going to be a bitter clinger and say that we were right and the team underachieved. It's not that everybody else was right about them coming into the season. The 49ers getting everybody back from injuries, or just about everybody this year, there's no way they should be in the depths that they have fallen to this year. I think Shanahan has lost the plot. I think it's a situation where it seemed like, again, just about every other pundit slept on them. We didn't. But again, and it looks like they were right and we were wrong. But it's not so much that we're wrong. It's that Shanahan and everyone there is screwing the pooch on the execution of it, I believe.
Well, yes, and that also makes us wrong. So
well, technically.
Let's own it. I mean, I thought the 49ers, when I look at them on paper, okay, when healthy, looking at past seasons, there is no reason to think that they would be this bad.
Right.
None. And I thought this was going to be a huge rebound year. And I think if you're a 49ers fan or just an NFL follower in general, you have to now question the whole narrative on Kyle Shanahan as this genius.
Absolutely.
Because when you look at his overall record while he's been with the 49ers, now when you add it up, it's pretty awful. Other than one season,
right?
The rest of it is what gets guys fired,
right?
And so I'm with you. I the stubborn part of me wants to agree with you and say, yeah, you and I are right. We analyzed this correctly.
We did.
This team and this talent. There's no way they should be losing these football games.
Right.
And yet they are, and therefore we're wrong. Now, I will say to you this, that the pundits and the nationals, talking faces, I think they tend to downplay or upplay based on the previous season.
Sure.
It's the old a mile wide, an inch deep, right?
Yes.
I think you and I dove deeply, and we felt confident in our analysis. And 9 times out of 10, that analysis would be correct.
Right.
In this case, it's blown up in our face, and we look bad because we're terribly wrong. And oh, by the way, Trey Lance looks like shit.
Yeah.
Far. Giving away the farm for that kid, and I didn't understand. I didn't understand giving away the farm for anybody in this draft. I didn't understand giving away the farm for Justin Fields. I didn't understand giving away the farm for Trey Lance. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense to me.
Well, I kind of got it in terms of Fields because, and again, I really thought the performance against Clemson woulda, coulda, shoulda opened a lot of eyes. A guy that could do something like that against Clemson looks like a guy that you can build around. And it wasn't just limited to that game. It was the culmination of his career. Now, the Alabama game was less than, but, you're going to have nights like that. I will say this, though, as far as Lance goes, and again, I know he's very, very physically talented, but who could have foreseen that the guy might not have come out of the chute looking real good when he was a lightly experienced QB from ITT Tech? Who could have seen that coming?
Well, I don't know. Everyone.
Yeah.
You and I talked about it. Like, okay, you're mortgaging the future for a guy who started 5 games at 1AA.
Right.
Congratulations.
Right.
Is he physically gifted? Oh, hell yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Right? But how many guys have been physically gifted that we've seen in our lives that never got it done at the NFL level? Because it's so much more than the physical. I could talk about, DeMarcus Russell, or I could talk about Jeff George. I could talk about anybody.
Yeah.
Right? And you could go, yeah. And then, by the way, and they're crap. And you know who wasn't a physical specimen? Tom Brady.
Right.
Joe Montana. You could go on and on.
Right.
And that's why I'm never typically in favor of quote unquote mortgaging the future, because it's still a crapshoot.
Right.
And I think if you see when smart teams draft, you can still acquire assets that the sum of the total far exceeds, the individual potential. But
Absolutely.
Anyway, neither here nor there. Let's talk about the Rams.
Well, yeah, and I was wrong on that, and that's the thing where, listen, I still think they're a top-heavy kind of a team in a lot of ways, and they continue to try and lard on with the names. As we're going to air recording this, they add Odell Beckham to their roster, so there's that. But I hope that.
Well, they're all full of all kinds of West Coast, dickweed posers they can jam onto that roster. So good for them.
Yeah, exactly. I hope Matthew Stafford is ready for Odell's dad to put out hit videos on him when he doesn't like his whole thing. A good buddy of mine, our FDH MMA editor, Jake Digman, posted something disparaging about Odell today on Facebook, and I replied because Jake has also done a lot of MMA ring announcing. I consider him to be the world's finest in that regard. And I said, Jake, you're asking for it now. Odell Beckham Sr. is going to stitch together some of your ring announcing and point out the flaws and the errors. He's coming for you now, baby. So this is the kind of...
Well, I would be glad for him because that would be some attention. Right?
Yes, it would. Jake's only going to get better gigs out of that by being on Odell Sr.'s radar. So, yes, that would be a blessing in disguise. But
I'm trying to get on Odell Sr.'s radar.
Yeah, what any publicity?
Well, actually, I want to say this.
Yes.
Let me just say this for the record, Rick.
All right.
I'm not trying to, because unlike Odell, I'm not trying to get out of Cleveland.
Right.
I love Cleveland.
That's right.
I'm not trying to get out. I'm all in, baby.
That's right. Although, shall we say though that any kind of hit video that he might put out on you could help you professionally if you're picking up what I'm putting down in Northeast Ohio. So there you go.
Listen, there are so many hit videos and photos on me that it doesn't even matter.
Right, but
I'm willing to accept it all.
But Chris, some of those draw blood. This is one that would actually work for you. It would be great if that could happen to you. But the whole Odell saga with the Browns, with DPJ becoming the number one receiver on the Browns, as was emphatically proven in the last game. But you know what? We'll get back to that because, like you were saying about the Rams there, I do want to talk about the Rams. I was wrong about them. They are one of the super teams in the NFC, and that game, the rematch that they have with the Cardinals, is going to be absolutely epic. Another team that has surprised, although I picked them to be in the playoffs. I will tell you this. I feel that teams have an obligation to their fan bases to represent, particularly when people get very vociferous and shit-talking on their behalf. I have to tell you, I was looking at leading a class action suit on behalf of aggrieved Browns fans who talked shit to Cardinal fans because our new FDH football analyst, Derek Joseph, being a big Cardinal fan. And boy, did I pour it on him in the off season, leading up to the game, whatever. And my Twitter feed was just about as bad as you would hope, plus some DMs during the game there. And he had another friend piling on me as well. So, the Browns let me down, but the Cardinals and the Rams at times have looked like the class of the NFC. I mean, you got to put the Packers and the Rams in there as well, but let's talk about the top of that division there and that epic Rams-Cardinals game that's the rematch that's going to be coming in the second half.
I can't wait to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're a football fan,
yep.
How are you not tuning that in?
Right.
Listen, we both thought highly of the Rams.
I said they'd be in the playoffs.
Well, yes, we both did. But we both didn't think that they would be at that level.
Right.
We both also on the Cardinals, and again, past is prologue. We both looked at the Cardinals and were like, prove it. I don't see it.
Right.
It's a tough division.
Right.
I don't know. What did I have the Cardinals at? Third in the division, I think, maybe. Whatever.
I had them, I think, third, but as a playoff team, just because, again, when you go 7 deep in the NFC, and that's the one thing we're right about, it's the 7th team in the NFC is just going to be a complete and utter joke, but they're going to be in the playoffs. I'm seeing predictions of the Falcons making it, maybe. So,
Well, I mean, and we can get there. Let's get there because I want to talk about what the Falcons are doing.
Okay.
I don't think that the average NFL fan realizes today, right now, on November 11th, Veterans Day. Thank you, veterans, for all your service.
Yep.
And for everything you've done for our country. Let me just stop right there. Originally, Armistice Day.
Yes.
World War I, which became Veterans Day. Thank you to all the veterans that we know and love for everything they've done.
Yes. Bravo.
Now, everything we know on November 11th. Hey, by the way, NFL fans, did you know that the Falcons are 4-4? Because if you had asked me, I would have said they're 1-7.
Right. They
are the equivalent of watching Arthur Smith is slowly turning the cruise ship. He is slowly turning the Titanic. Well, and it is starting to happen. Anyway, let me get back to the Rams.
Wait a minute. I just want to take issue with that. Just real quick. He's turning it an inch at a time. To me, they're a slightly better
version. That's how it works.
Well, but here's the thing, though. They're bum slayers like the Broncos. They haven't really. I haven't been impressed with any of their wins. But anyways, go off, King. You were talking about the Rams.
Well, okay. You're not impressed with any of their wins. They're only one game behind our beloved Browns.
They're bum slayers.
Yeah. Oh. And what's that say about us?
We haven't been even.
There you go. So the Rams have been, excellent. Sean McVay, this is probably his, I will say his best coaching season to this point.
Yes.
And I know, he was the wonderkin and all that, but I will say, the losses on defense, and you and I talked about it preseason.
Yeah.
Losing John Johnson, losing Troy Hill, some of the
Brandon
turnover
Staley
they've had.
Lose the coordinator.
They switched quarterbacks. Now, I think we all agree Stafford's better. We all knew that.
Right.
That was an upgrade. We all, except for Rick. Rick is still a golf team for everyone.
I thought it was closer than people thought, and I also thought, and maybe this clouded my judgment. I try not to let these things cloud my judgment, but again, I was a day one Sean McVay guy, but I thought what he was doing was really obnoxious, burying Jared Goff the way that he did on his way out the door. I thought it was classless, and
I agree with that. Listen, you're not wrong about that.
Right.
It doesn't mean he's wrong about Jared Goff. But you're talking a different thing, and that's how you handle it,
right?
And you know what? And some of this is we're old men, and that's how we perceive things. But in the new NFL, in the new world, you know what? You perform, or your throat gets slit,
right?
And his coach, his boss, just moved the knife across his throat and moved on.
Yep.
Right? Like, didn't care. Didn't even call him. Didn't even talk to him.
Yep.
Don't care. You're dead to me. And that's just how the world is now.
Right.
And you and I don't care for that. We don't care for that. And again, not to always give a Browns reference, but I also think that, I don't think that Kevin Stefanski would ever operate that way.
Well, here's the thing, too, and here's what I know Stefanski wouldn't do, is it went beyond not calling him. It was the constant thing of finally, I got a quarterback. Finally, I got a real quarterback. That shit got really obnoxious, Chris.
Right. No, I agree, and I think that's, look, for old men like you and I think that's a generational thing. It really is. Look, listen, you and I don't want to acknowledge it, but here's the bottom line: we're both old men, right? We're just old men at this point. Get off my lawn, Rams fan.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
So that's where. Don't you know that Jim Brown was the best running back ever?
Right.
Oh, they don't care. So, that's you and
I had a friend tweet today. Now, part of this is geographic where we live, but I had a friend tweet today. No knowledge whatsoever. People were tweeting about the Edmund Fitzgerald. And I was like, I've never felt older in my life than to have a friend that doesn't know about the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Wow. Man.
Yeah.
So so Edmund Fitzgerald. So did you quiz them on what Great Lake is it at the bottom of?
Honestly, it was a thing where I was just, too embarrassed to acknowledge, frankly, that I knew something that somebody that age didn't. And as I didn't comment on it. I didn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Well, it was heading to Detroit.
It was. It was on Lake Superior, right? It was Lake Superior? People in Cleveland, in our hometown, they think it's in Lake Erie, and it's not. No, I knew that.
Well, there's a lot of people, if you ask them, they think it's in Lake Erie. Right.
Well, because people lump together, even people in Cleveland lump the Great Lakes together somehow. You know what I mean? They confuse them.
Rick, technically they are all connected. So
well, that's true. That's true.
We call them lakes, but it is one amorphous body of water.
Well, and maybe this is the wrong place for this kind of question, but I'll ask it anyways. The whole thing about when you drop a radio in the bathtub, if it's plugged in, you can electrocute people. How come you can do that in the middle of Lake Erie and you're not frying crap for hundreds of miles around you? You know what I mean? How does that work?
Well, there's this thing called dissipation.
Okay.
There's elements there.
Okay.
It's the same way if lightning hits Lake Superior,
right,
and you're swimming in Lake Erie, you
right,
don't die of electricity.
Okay.
Okay. It works the same, man.
Hey, thanks for smartening me up. I appreciate it.
And that was your Science Minute with FDH Lounge.
Nothing is off topic, Joe.
Nothing's off topic. Even wait, where's Nikolai Tesla? Anyway,
we were complaining. We were complaining about the Rams and Sean McVay.
We were shit talking Sean McVay.
Yes.
Also, Coach McVay. We actually love you. We think you're a great coach.
Yes.
We just thought you were a little over your skis because you gave away too much defensive talent this year. We were wrong. Rick and I acknowledge it. Moving on.
I still don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl, but and the funny thing is, I think I had them making.
What are you saying? They have OBJ.
Well, yeah.
They're a lock. Don't you know that OBJ played in one playoff game and he was on a boat?
Yeah.
And so therefore he's about to become whatever.
Yeah. And wait till he starts freelancing patterns out there. Let's see how that goes over. Although, again, the LA.
You mean all day long, and why Baker Mayfield was out of his fucking mind every game trying to find the guy because he couldn't figure out where the fuck he was going to be, and so he couldn't find his actual open receivers in the rhythm of the offense because he was looking for OBJ, who was quote unquote doing his thing.
Right. And that's the whole thing here too. I'm gonna give the position coach a little bit of a break here because I'm guessing it's not the position coach that said to him, Odell, route running is like improv jazz. You just got to go out there and go where the spirit moves you. I'm guessing that he wasn't coached to do that.
Hey, listen, Cat, I just need you to get out there and do some scat, yo.
How amazing is it that it's a guy named Galloway, which sounds like Calloway, that just said that? I am loving doing a football segment with Vacation Uninhibited Galloway. This is some of our best stuff.
Greatest show ever, right?
Pretty much. It's going to be in my top 5. And I've had Bob Barker on 7 times. So what does that tell you?
Hey, Bob Barker, the price is wrong, bitch.
Amazing. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed this. Here's yet another thing that's not off topic because nothing is. Shooter McGavin on Twitter is one of the most entertaining follows out there. The guy,
I follow Shooter.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
I have actually considered just moving my whole Twitter account so that I only follow one person, Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, well.
So when you look at me and go, who's he follow? Shooter McGavin.
That would be amazing if you did that. that would be pretty damn outstanding if you did that. So yeah, I mean, even though I think it's safe to say that Sean McVay was conducting himself like Shooter McGavin's Twitter feed over the summer, talking about Jared Goff. Again, he's gotten away with it. The Rams are doing better than we thought. That game with the Cardinals is going to be epic. Poor Jared Goff, sent to the wasteland of football. I did predict before the year that even he wouldn't be enough to save them. So it looks like they could go 0-17. I don't think they're lucky enough to draw Houston or Jacksonville or the tiny speck of teams out there that they might be capable of beating. I think they got another game with Chicago, who's not far above them. And they've come close in a couple of them. And I can tell you, from a handicapping perspective, they've been a troublesome backdoor team. So, all they got to do is go a little bit further on the backdoor in one of these games, and they'll sneak one out. I think they're a coin flip to go 0-17. I'm guessing they don't, but, if you put a gun to my head, I might say that they would. Do you think they'll go 0-17 with your boy Campbell and the medium shirts?
They won't go 0-17.
Okay.
And they won't because my boy Campbell is medium, as you like to say.
Yes.
He's not fucking Hugh Jackson, all right?
Right.
All right?
Who is?
Look, will you at least give me this?
Yes.
That team plays hard for my guy Dan.
They do. They're not any good.
They play their guts out.
They do. I mean,
And I get that, he, in order to get his real first opportunity to be a head coach, I know he had this brief moment with the Dolphins.
Right.
That doesn't count. Although we get to see a little bit of it because they overachieved when he was there.
Right.
He is a guy who motivates men. And this team has performed as hard for him as I thought they would. And in that sense, that I thought they would have won a couple of these games, and they really should have.
Right.
And I think when it's all said and done, Rick, I think they're going to end up winning 2 games.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Careful on our Browns, buddy.
Well, yeah.
That's one of the ones that we're going to have a problem with.
Well,
and,
oh boy.
And you and I both know that I'm the Browns whisperer when it comes to games.
Yes.
I can tell in the first 4 minutes of a Browns game whether it is dead or alive.
Right.
And I will tell you, when we play Detroit, we'll be 4 minutes in that game. You're going to text me and go, well, and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. So I believe the Lions will end up winning 2 games.
Okay.
When it's all said and done. But to your point,
Battle of Lake Erie better not be one of them.
they are. That's a tough spot. Everyone acknowledged that was the worst roster in the league.
Horrible. Well, I mean, Houston says hi.
Well, yeah. Well, I think we went into training camp thinking the Lions the worst roster. When it was all said and done, Houston, wow.
Don't want me in with that. I said Houston's was dog crap before the year as well. But no, you're right.
You did. I mean, look, we all knew those 2 teams were fighting for that title, if you will.
Right.
But I do actually think the Lions are actually going to end up winning 2 games.
Okay.
I think that they and I say that because of the blood, sweat, and tears, hard work. Even with the clown that is Hugh Jackson, the Cleveland Browns won a game one year.
Yeah, not the other.
I believe the Lions will. Now, I mean, granted, you and I both said that those same Browns teams that went 1-31 with Hugh Jackson should have probably won 8 to 10 games, but
minimum 6 or 7.
Yeah, the coaching was so damn bad that they couldn't even overcome that.
Right.
But I don't think Dan Campbell is that.
No. But by the way,
I stick with Lions winning 2 games.
Dan's old haunt down in Miami. I can't let my 1A team off the league. some of the biggest underachieving pant loads in the league. A big year backwards. The Dolphins making a fool out of me, picking them for a really good year. And to a degree greater than I thought possible, but right along the lines of what you picked. A real welcome to the NFL season for Urban Meyer all the way around, really.
Well, Urban, wow. Get off High Street, buddy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Put away your cell phone. Stop texting co-eds. I think Shelley's been a good wife. Maybe honor her. And all that aside, let me pause and say this, and this is going to pain me and shock you.
Okay.
The Jaguars have given away a lot of talent. They've gutted the place. They've stripped it down to the bones.
Mm-hmm.
They've played some good games.
Sure.
And they've already won 2. Watching them, and God, I don't like Urban. I don't like Urban. Never have.
Sure.
I gotta say, I'm not writing him off.
Interesting.
Because what I have seen, and I know everybody else wants to write him off, what I am seeing is a team competing. I am watching coaches, figure it out. I am watching a team with a lot less talent compete.
Yeah.
I can't, as much as it hurts me and as much as I dislike Urban personally,
yeah,
I can't write him off yet, and I'm not going to, because I think he could still win 1 or 2 more games this year, and he's going to get back, some injuries. Etienne, he's going to get back his quarterback. I can't go there yet. I can't do it, Rick.
Well,
I know you want me to Gruden him.
Right.
You want me to bury him, call him a clown. He's an idiot, and this and that.
Right.
He is all those things on a personal level.
Right.
I mean, this guy, I have such disdain for. But I do actually think I see some embers. I see some little elements. I see some things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, they aren't done yet. It's the old Monty Python. I'm not dead yet.
Well, I was going to find another reference. I was going to say that I did not expect to do this here with you tonight, expecting you to deliver on behalf of the Jacksonville Jaguars the old Marty Schottenheimer. There's a gleam, man. There's a gleam. But you just did it. So there it was.
I didn't think I would.
Yeah.
But
well,
I have to be intellectually honest.
Well,
and I always want to be intellectually honest with you and our listeners.
Yes, thank you, because I'm definitely a cop when it comes to that stuff. So you got to be when you're around me, because to the point of obnoxiousness, I will call people on their intellectual inconsistencies.
That's one of the things I love about you.
Thank you.
I mean, just so our listeners know, I've known this man since I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And if I'm full of crap, he will call me out on it.
Well, and I expect that from others too. I expect that from others. That's
it's not just me. I'm not saying it's just
right,
me.
Right.
I'm saying Rick Morris is a arbitrator of truth.
Yes,
and
yes.
He will focus in and be like, "Well, you said this," and then you have to put your head down and go, "Yes, I did."
Well, absolutely. And I will tell you. As far as that goes, and again, as much as aforementioned FDH Lounge dignitary John Adams and I like to joke about having profiles on all of us. That is in my profile. Is that I am the enforcer of intellectual consistency. And before we bring this around, one last fun note here before we get to revised Super Bowl predictions, and that would be. Appearing on the podcast of fellow FDH Lounge dignitary Tony Mazer last week. He wanted to have me on to discuss players who did and didn't belong in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So ones that should be in and aren't, ones that aren't, and ones that are in that should get the GTFO, which the latter segment, by the way, he put on his Patreon side. And I said to him, there's a lot of things that are paywalled on the internet. There's all kinds of porn stuff on OnlyFans and whatever, and here you got 2 white dudes arguing about slappies who shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Hard to believe there's any perverts out there that could get off listening to that, but you never know.
I'm really hoping there are not.
Well, you never know. But as far as players who aren't in but belong in. And you're asking, what does this have to do with anything? Here's what it does. There was an 18th or 19th century, 18th century baseball. Wouldn't that have been something? 19th century baseball player, and he was on one of these lists I came across when I was researching it. And the guy's name was Urban Shocker. And I said to Tony, I said, that sounds like something from a meme in the fall of 2021, doesn't it?
Urban Shocker.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it sounds like something out of the summer of 2020.
Yeah.
Defund the police, Urban Shocker.
Yeah. How's that working out? Yeah. But as far as it goes,
and I just want to say, Urban Shocker is a fraud. You want to know why?
Why?
Because he didn't face any African Americans.
That's true. That's true. Although I think there were also smaller leagues at the time, so it was less whiteys that he was up against. So it somewhat mitigates it, but not completely. I agree with you. I completely, I see your point on that one. As far as Super Bowl picks go, what the hell? I'm going to be the bitter clinger and stick to what I said before the season. After that Bengals game last week, and boy was I wavering before that. But like I said, the top of the AFC, I ain't scared. Give me the Browns coming out of the AFC, Bucks in the Super Bowl, Browns to deny the Bucks the back-to-back in the Super Bowl, same way the Bucks did to the Chiefs in January. I'm staying with the pick. I know you couldn't possibly be staying with your pick because after we buried the 49ers, you picked 49ers over Browns, so I know you ain't going there.
I mean, dear God, could I have made a worse pick than Browns and 49ers? I mean, really?
Yeah.
What a dreadful pick. Why does anyone even listen? No one should ever listen to me, let alone you. I'm never going to be allowed on another FDH podcast ever after that pick.
Oh, it's mandatory to have us. You're our chief futurist, which...
yeah. Well, so by the way, so wasn't the Super Bowl pick a future pick?
Well, you're a generalist, Chris, not just a specific discipline. You're a generalist.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm still going to stay in the NFC West. I will go Rams over Cardinals, even though the Cardinals look like the team. I will stay within the division.
Okay.
I'll move off of the 49ers. I will say Rams. Ugh, that kind of hurts.
Yeah.
I will say Rams versus Browns, baby. I'm not giving up.
There you go.
Browns are still going to the Super Bowl, and I'm sorry, Cleveland fans, we're still going to lose it.
Okay.
But we're going to get there. I still think that there is a little magic. I still believe in the analytics. Getting rid of OBJ, we have seen Baker Mayfield sans OBJ.
Right.
And he is a completely different quarterback. We all know it. We all see it.
Right.
Not to sound like one of those progressive commercials sitting in the lows with the blue hair. We all see it. So we all know that once the diva's gone, suddenly Baker is a better quarterback.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the reason I have believed in the Browns this entire time is because of two things. Well, three, I guess. One, that offensive line. It's the best in football. And I know we got to get Conklin back. Some guy named Blake is playing right tackle.
Right.
That's one. Two, our running backs. I know this week we might lose to the Patriots. We don't have a running back. Do we even have a running back who doesn't have COVID?
I think Dearness Johnson's the only one.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, there's that one guy. And also they say Jarvis Landry may play running back this week.
Okay.
Okay, that's where we're at.
Right. A lot of jet sweeps, yo.
Oh, jeez, that's going to all be good for -1 yard. All that said, we still have the best running game in the league. When they're healthy and they don't have the Wuhan, Chubb, Hunt, Johnson, Belton, John Kelly, right? Give me all of them.
Right.
There is nobody in this league that has a better running game than the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I don't care about your Glanville-esque bullshit, whatever you want to call it. I am still a believer in the basics. You win at the line. You have the best O-line. You have the best running game. You have the best running backs. You are going to win football games, and you're going to win them in January.
Yep.
And then you throw that in with my love and my belief in Kevin Stefanski, and you know where I am on him. I still think the Browns are going to salvage this shit, somehow barely find their way into the playoffs, and then that's when they're going to do their damage. Rams over Browns in the Super Bowl. Heartbreak for Cleveland, but we got to the big game. That's it, yo.
All right. Well, I tell you, Stefanski, the one thing I'm going to have to say, and this is where I've been increasingly critical this year, what we saw at the end of the Chiefs game in the playoffs last year, and maybe this has to do with whenever Baker's in a funk, he doesn't quite know what to do. But again, he's got to pull his head out of his ass, because I thought the play calling was pretty bad in the Steeler game, along with a lot of other things. And I think it was bad in the Minnesota game as well as the execution. It's been uneven at best. I think the play calling was ass. That Chargers-Browns game you were at, that final drive, what the hell was going on there? Stefanski has got to either tighten it up or turn it over to AVP, because we saw what Van Pelt can do as a play caller on game day in the playoffs last year against the Squealers. So, one way or another.
Rick, I want to tell you one thing.
What?
I want to tell you what I realized sitting when I was at that game, with that Chargers-Browns game.
Right.
Here was my epiphany.
Okay.
Because the NFL is we study your tendencies and we know what you are and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, Stefanski and AVP.
Uh-huh.
Stefanski has got to hand over play calling duties on different games when the other team doesn't know.
Right.
And you're going to go, wait, what? You know, most people will say, what? What are you talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. Teams learn what you do. They learn tendencies. They study coaches, right?
Right.
The Browns have two capable callers.
Right.
The smart thing to do would be, you know how teams always go, well, who's starting at this position? Who's starting at quarterback this week? Hey, Browns, who's calling the plays? I guess you'll find out.
That would be amazing.
I really believe the Browns should throw a wrinkle in and have AVP like this week call the plays. And so the other team, the Pats, Belichick especially, cannot zero in on what the tendencies are. He hasn't studied them.
That's genius.
I think that would be a brilliant move. And have AVP call the plays for like 2 weeks, all right? The first Ravens game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then bye week, and then go back to Stefanski.
Right. Wow.
And then for the Lions, hand it back to AVP. And then just completely throw a curve while other teams are trying to figure out what are their tendencies, what do they like to do. We don't know which fucking coach. You know, you see it in college with the players calling the plays, trying to figure out which one of the kids in the orange shirts sitting there doing gibberish, who's calling the actual plays. Do it during the game. Have them talking. You don't know who the fuck is calling the plays.
Would you?
I really believe the next wrinkle for the NFL is you don't know who's fucking calling the plays.
Let me ask you this. Would you agree with me that you want to do that without making it public? Because the last thing you need is for all these...
I wouldn't make it public.
Right. You don't need all these numbnuts on social media comparing the two.
The NFL requires you to tell who is starting, who has injuries, etc.
Yeah.
They don't at this point, as it relates to Vegas.
Right.
Require who's calling what.
Right. Exploit that. Because
exactly.
We don't need any controversies from the vulture media. We don't need the vulture media coming in here trying to pit them against each other. I like this guy's play calling better. We don't need any of that crap. So I would agree with you.
I mask it.
Right.
Mask it. But this next week, like against the Pats, have AVP do it.
Totally agree.
Have AVP do it. Have him do it against the Lions. Then have Stefanski do it in week 1 against the Ravens. Do the buy and then have APB, or vice versa.
Right.
Just mix it up.
Genius idea.
And I just think that that's another wrinkle. You create another stress point on the opposing coaches to try to figure out. And I think the more you can do of that stuff, the more competitive advantage you have. So anyway, I throw that out to you. I think most people probably think Chris is an idiot, but I think that is a way to sort of approach this.
I think it's genius, and I think it's very, very, very fitting to wrap on this note, because on a note where, again, recording this here with Vacation Galloway, a little more slapstick than we generally kind of get into this thing, but ending on a pure genius recommendation on your part. We cannot be pigeonholed, ladies and gentlemen. We can sit here and we can laugh our asses about stupid things left and right, and then one of us, on this occasion it was Chris, pull something out of his ass. Absolutely brilliant. Great job, and great to have you there. Cannot thank you enough for joining us here from your warmer climes, and may you continue to enjoy the rest of the vacay, my friend.
Well, Rick, the sun is coming up over the South Pacific, and I'm going to get another cup of coffee and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's going to be Irish again. So, all right, rock that coffee there, Chris Galloway. Thank you so much, and thank you, everybody, for joining us for FDH Lounge Mini Episode 1404.